please, Nadia. And Nadia will be presenting what's the Global Coastal Ocean Resilience Framework. And thanks, Nadia.
Okay, so I just wanted to add, since Maria is still here, maybe? Yes, Maria. So this is a project that, in my opinion, talks a lot about the kind of work, essential work you're doing in teaching people to construct instruments, put them in the water, and see how they work. So I would like later, after this meeting, to get in touch with you and John and devise, another platform, maybe, where we can make use of your expertise and John's and others together. Thank you. So it was very fascinating talk for me. Okay, so I'm always looking for places where to teach my students how to make an observations. Then I have to go to a pond, lower the instruments because I don't have a ship or anything of that kind. So anyway, now instead we can construct the instruments. It's even better. And we have also Marco here, so good. Okay, we have a good perspective. And for that perspective that we are launching here in Merida, the further refinement of the idea of the menu of solutions that was set in Lecce last year. And I have taken time with ChatGPT to find out what is a framework. I like the word framework, but I didn't know why I like the word framework, right? I like the global coastal ocean, I know why. And I know resilience, but the framework was a problem. So, and we had a discussion too. So I like the definition. Framework refers to a structured approach or system designed to help coastal resilience and so on. So it's the structured approach. It's not as high level as we heard this morning from Joaquin, but maybe the next part, the next step will be to elaborate the final jump. What was your strategy? That's right. Okay, so I think we are converging here. That's a good one. Okay, so I did some reading and I went through some papers and in the past 2 or 3 years to instruct myself what was the resilience, the coastal resilience, and so. So here I'm showing you only an introduction, and after Giovanni and later will complete the discussion. This is a collaborative work of the CoastPredict board, which is now composed of the people that you see here and the DCC-CR supporting. So why a framework for the global coastal ocean resilience? Well, I found quite a long list of UN conventions that require our government to endorse actions that will allow to comply with principles that are listed in these conventions. And I think that after all, this is the reason. We have to save lives, we have to save livelihoods, we have to save the natural beauty of a coast and the coastline and everything. But among all of them. I think the UN conventions are driving our intent to find a way, structure a way to deal with the challenges of resilience in a global coastal ocean. Okay, so a few years ago, at the beginning of this path, I was involved with Srinivasa Kumar, who is maybe the co-chair of the tsunami working group. I don't remember now if he is still, but he was at the time. We got together because the UN Decade asked us to look after this Ocean Decade white paper, Challenge 6, Challenge 6, which is increased community resilience to ocean hazards. It was still ocean hazards before I arrived in, and now it's called ocean and coastal hazards because they looked at the problem, and we found a good framework to justify. So so why a framework for global coastal ocean resilience? In this white paper, we say that meeting the strategic ambition of Ocean Decade Challenge 6 will need to integrate coastal resilience targets into sustainable development goals. So we went through all the targets of the Sustainable Development Goals, and you will be surprised there is no target of coastal resilience. So one of the reasons why we are working for a global coastal ocean resilience framework is because we have to work out to the SDGs. Unfortunately, SDGs were reformed in 2025, and the process hasn't been really transparent. But we should prepare for this because SDGs by government is something that is mandatory to be accepted into regulations. And so at the end of the day, it will drive the sustainability of a new global coastal ocean. So we found also that certainly we found the indicators for coastal cities to be included in SDG 11 that would make a contribution to global coastal ocean resilience, since big cities are in the coast. Hazards should be included in SDG 13, and they are not now. And indicators for coastal resilience within SDG 14, and they are not now. So this is the reason. And so I will introduce this, and then they will be further detailed by Giovanni. So we would like to put forward 4 key elements in this GCORE framework for global coastal ocean resilience. So the first one is the source-to-sea approach, intended to be a holistic process that treats land, freshwater, coastal, and marine ecosystem as a connected continuum. The solution, we would like to have this framework to endorse a solution and service-oriented process of selection of alternatives for coastal ocean observing and predicting technology. You see, we had discussed a lot these 2 days, and observing. We say, oh, we need observations. Well, to tell you the truth, we need to say why we need observations, because it's not so immediate. to other people, we need observations. But if I say I need observation because I do a forecast and I will better predict the waves on the beach, that's a good reason. That's the reason why I need observations. But then we know we also need observation because we need to understand. But to tell, following up with the development of meteorology, this is the difference between meteorology and oceanography. Meteorology says, I need this precipitation station because I need to have an early warning system for inundation when there is too much precipitation. So we should, in oceanography, we don't do it enough. So I hope after this framework, we will do it enough. We do it because we need to have a solution. We need to say, we want to find a solution, we want to have a service. Otherwise, it's not going to be sustainable. It's not going to be sustainable. So the other part is, I think we are launching this philosophy with the global coastal ocean. We're not going to do all of it, right? But we want to learn from each other, and we want to exchange tools. So obviously, these tools have to be relocatable, obviously, which is not normal for many things. For observation, you need a good metadata. We heard Marco. We need to have an exchange protocol. We need best practices and standards. Now, in oceanography, we have best practice program and group that is really important, but we don't have standards. And to tell you the truth, working with companies, they always ask me, what is the standard that the governmental agency requires? And then maybe too detailed. So what does WMO do? They define the standards. The companies take the WMO standards and they get the weather stations done on that standards. So if we want to help our private sector, we need to, Edgar, he knows very well this topic, we need to arrive at the level of oceanography that gives us standards. So the other one is, so we need a relocatable, scalable technology approach which considers high efficiency information production and open and free data sharing, an equitable knowledge sharing approach, where diverse actors can contribute in knowledge creation and use. Okay, this is not perfect as wording, but I hope you would agree at least on these four. And as Giovanni will tell you after me, we have now a paper finally out of Lecce and the manual solutions that has become a framework for global coastal ocean resilience, where we will ask all of you to go through, contribute, give your comments, and we will entertain several months of discussions to see it done. So the GCORE is the name of the framework, so I don't repeat. Global Coastal Ocean Resilience components, they are coming from the manual solution, but they are coming out from the manual solutions, and they will be illustrated by Giovanni. After we did the adaptation fund proposals, because the adaptation fund proposal really forced us to have a rigorous planning, which is not a strategy yet, planning of what we want to do. Okay. And so we included, since we developed it together with you in the different regions, we included that now in this paper, which I really hope you all will come and contribute. Don't worry, your name will be in. There's no problem, right? This is a community paper, if you agree. Okay? So we will, in this paper, say this framework will be applied to this, and I think I conclude. Yeah, what I said there, you know. So I believe that this will be the legacy of CoastPredict after the decade. So one will be the GCORE framework with and for the Global Coastal Ocean Panel of GOOS. And then we will, through this framework, we will do demonstrations of coastal resilience solutions around the world. So this is, we have 4 years to go to 2030. I think this is about the time we discuss together this, and we make it, we do it, we write it, we put the right words, and so most of it is done because the manual solution was discussed in Lecce, was prepared even before, and was left for your comments. All your comments were considered in the version that you will see. But please add more. Now there is more. This is a framework now. Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much, Nadia. I think it's what you have just shown, Nadia, I think is one of the issues that make me really interested in really building CoastPredict together, all together. And it's that we are really showing, I think, some progression and some advances. Now, this framework, we had the solutions. Now we go to a next step, which is really the framework. We presented, we hope to have your feedback and interactions. And now Giovanni is going to present the details on what was the origin of the menu of solutions that will be integrated into the framework. Thanks, Giovanni.
Thank you. It's not easy to follow Nadia's presentation and give more insight, but I will try. So, yeah, as Nadia said, this is a bit of more detail on the Global Coastal Ocean Resilience Framework, and it's basically the structure of a paper that Nadia prepared, and I'm helping to further develop. And it is based on what we discussed and prepared after the meeting of last year in Lecce, the previous assembly. So it's the present title is Global Coastal Ocean Resilience Framework, Advanced Integrated Solution for Coastal Communities. And here, as Nadia said, is only the initial list of co-authors, and we are inviting now you to contribute, to revise and contribute. And we are copying what Jason Holt and the Flame community, we get inspired by the work they did, because they did the workshop and then they started the process, a sort of 6-month process where people were revising, contributing. I guess Jason in the background was revising each contribution and progressing. So said that, yeah, as Nadia introduced, the framework, the GCORE framework, is based on the 3 key elements. So we believe that it's a clear asset for, it's important for us that we understand that we are at the interface of the land and ocean, And the source to see paradigm is really important for us. So it's a key element, and it penetrates into the observing system, into the modeling capacity. So it's and it's distinguishing us from other communities that are studying and working in other environments different. So we want to, let's say, we want to develop our science because it's important for service and solution. Said in other words, we want that our research and development activity are in support of solution and services, or service-oriented, because we will be more effective to save our coastal communities and support them, but science-based. And we want to be not specific for certain places of the coastal ocean, but but our solutions and our science should be deployable in any part of the coastal ocean, which is not an easy task. And then this requirement drives the science and the way we develop our science and our solutions. So we need to be relocatable, not because we like it, but because it's needed by the community. And as said by all of you, we need to be equitable, we need to be capable of sharing the knowledge, and again, also, for instance, we are on the cloud, or we will be more and more on the cloud, not because we like cloud more than HPC, but because it makes our science more accessible, main reason. So this will be part of the introduction of the paper, so explaining why we are doing this. And then you have seen already this slide, but first of all, what you notice is that it is a loop. So we found also we will emphasize that from our local solutions, we can go back to the global and regional scale and contribute. And this is essential. For instance, now in Europe, we are discussing what is missing in the observing system, EMODNet. You heard about EMODNet. And EMODNet is looking towards more and more supporting the gathering of coastal data which are missing in the panorama, in the picture. So that's what we will be able here, for instance, with the observation as an example. Our observations from the pilot sites will feed the regional and global scale, which is not automatic at all. I mean, it's really, we will serve the global community. The same, most of our services that we will develop there will also be useful for other, also for the global ocean. I mean, Christina, this morning, Christina Forbes from US Coast Guard explained that the most challenging search and rescue operations are probably in the coastal ocean, where forecasting the currents is more difficult. But of course, what we will do for the coastal ocean then will be also applicable for the global. So here you see the clear link, the downscaling approach, but you see also how important is in the coastal dimension the engagement of users and actors and practitioners through co-design and co-development. You see the different components here, and the coastal resilience building blocks, let's say, the different services, and the special role of risk assessment, which is very important in this framework. Now, here a picture that shows the 5 components and building blocks. Below each of the components, you have building blocks that are the basis of the GCORE framework. what to add, you see, as Nadia was saying, it was not the initial plan. It was through the preparation of the adaptation fund proposal with you that we ended up with this structure. And so it has been elaborated and elaborated. It sounds classic, but in the end, it has some novelties. So you have the coastal observing system. We put it together with a cloud infrastructure as the first backbone of the architecture. Then you have the modeling and prediction capacity. The short-term and long-term climate downscaling. So together, these two model capacity represent our capacity to predict in the short term and in the long term. And then the services, I will go more in detail, and the stakeholder engagement, as well as the institutional framework. And last, but of course not least, of the component. And you see how they interact each other. There are the first four enabling progressively the others, and then the last one that gives support to the first, more technological and science oriented. Now, this picture, you have seen it many times. It's not only a way of staying together and networking, but we need to explain in the paper that it's also a methodological approach, the pilot sites, because meaning that the proper number of pilot sites, 200 pilot sites that we have gathered, will allow to test our solution across the different regions, the different characteristics of the coastal ocean. So we will be very robust at the end. If it works in all these places, it will work all over the coastal ocean. Now going to the building blocks, the observing system, I won't go into any details, but progressively with you, we are refining this concept, and there is a lot of innovation in this design. Also, is not shown in this picture, but in Glasgow, we discussed that we will have different level, the minimum observing system that should be everywhere in each of the 215 pilot sites plus, I'm sure that will grow. We will have a minimum common observing system. Then, depending on the capacity, on the need, we will increase the up to the optimal, let's say, that would include all the different components. So that's also, and the novelties here, you have seen many of them, is the citizen design component is new. It will be cost effective, the fishery ocean observing system, the satellite dedicated to the coastal ocean. So I mean, I'm sure I'm forgetting, but I don't want to go into much details. And here you see the principle that will be explained. Yeah. So the cloud, again, we presented, so I will not go into any detail. I think it is a sort of a transformative idea that we had, and is surprisingly, it attracts people because they see that it's solving problems in terms of capacity and accessibility. And it will respect the different regional specificities, meaning that there will be an ownership at the local, national, and regional level. The cloud allows that. And I feel it's needed not only, I mean, is needed for each of our region, for each of our pilot. Is really, people need to understand that their data are protected, can be shared easy, but they will own. And this is also an invitation to help us to build this cloud at the regional level. So we are ready to deploy the cloud in the different regions even before the adaptation fund projects comes. So we are already ready to do that because it's really flexible system. Of course, we need a bit of a computing capacity, but I'm sure that we have institute among us that has already this cloud capacity that can be integrated. And let's do it because we need demonstrator. We need to show that this is functioning and grow. The short-term coastal prediction system is a very important component. We have a very large diversity of models that we can implement. They are still very useful, even if, of course, artificial intelligence is integrated. But I see that we will continue to use existing numerical models dedicated to the coastal ocean, integrated with artificial intelligence to get to a multi-hazard early warning system. Tomorrow morning we will do an exercise with the pilot sites from the Caribbean. We will try to define what is exactly for us, what is needed as multi-hazard, which are the hazards that are really needed, and they will be different but similar in the different regions. Okay. Climate downscaling, I recommend to take a look to the paper that Jason Holt and the Flame community prepared last year and published last year, but it's really an advanced capacity that is growing worldwide to prepare climate products and projection for the coastal ocean, and it was missing because there is a need of integrating, for instance, the hydrological component to give the main, in my opinion, the main missing block that now is there, and because it's very important in the coastal environment. Not surprising, but very important, we are now more recognizable and more evident in the IPCC community. So it's also growing this capacity to serve the international UN effort like the IPCC one. So we will contribute to reports and progressively cover the entire coastal ocean, which is not an easy task. We have been talking about the services. I pick up again the previous slide, but now we focus on the services. So there are many possible services needed in the coastal ocean. Here is a first initial categorization of the services. So the assessment and reporting service for adaptation planning, which is not only related to climate change, because adaptation is also adaptation to a certain level of pollution or physical processes like coastal erosion, which is not only linked to climate change. Then you have the multi-hazard early warning system that we need, I think, together to define progressively now in the paper and implement in the future through the projects. We said also that this should be people-centered. So really we need first to understand which are the problems for the people and then develop the multi-hazard early warning system. And tsunami, we need to remember to integrate the tsunami component here because they are very well advanced, as Claire was showing yesterday. Situational sea awareness and search and rescue. The first part is how you provide metocean observation and forecast to the actors, to the stakeholder, and search and rescue is an example of oil spill forecasting is here, and search and rescue, Christina showed us how important it is to really support properly, and it's also a coastal problem, or for sure deserve high resolution currents and products. And then the digital twin of the coastal ocean tomorrow one of the questions will be, what is for you a digital twin of the coastal ocean? Because still people are interpreting this in a different way, but it's again a planning tool, but it's quite specific. For me, main characteristic is that it allows what-if scenario. Last but not least, the user and actors engagement. We have analyzed, this is the results of the pilot site, Global Coast Pilot Site Survey. So this bubble size is coming from the information you provided. So there is diversity, there is a multitude of actors with specific need, and we need to handle that. One important concept is the review requirements for coastal resilience. I will have another slide to conclude. And of course, we will explain that we are in the context of GOOS and that we want to really change and leave a legacy through the GOOS community, for the GOOS community. So specifically, we need to establish a coastal resilience review requirements, interacting with the users through periodic consultation, impact studies, and so on so far, and repeat this cycle every few years in order to gather the need by the community. To conclude, I think we have an opportunity in front of us to make GCORE the main operational and strategic framework to ensure the continuity and legacy of CoastPredict especially after 2030 period. We will demonstrate all our solutions. So this is not only a paper, it is our, let's say, main document that will describe how we will implement this in the pilot sites through the different components. So your input is critical. We will provide to you the paper draft, and then we will ask you to provide contribution to this paper, of course, including you as authors. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Giovanni. I think it's been really very useful and impressive work behind. I'd like to emphasize that when Giovanni shows the pilot sites figure with all the different pilot sites, there is a lot of information behind each one of those dots. So I strongly suggest that you go there, because you will find there the problems, the identified capacities in each one of the sites. Well, a lot of information, in here. So behind each one of the dots, you have a lot of information. Nadia, go ahead.
Thank you for reminding me that if you find also that your information is not properly recorded, please let us know. We are very much putting a lot of attention, right, to this. And Mired is, driving this effort together with Wanda. And so what would you say, Mired? That's a good one.
We reached out to all of the existing pilot sites last year because what we saw in the first survey was that some of the questions were open-ended. And we got a lot of information, but then we kind of had to extract the meaning. So especially in terms of the existing observing capacity and modelling capacity, we've sent a new survey, an updated survey. It's shorter, but we really want to get into the detail of what exists. So if you haven't responded to that, please do. And I think as well what Nadia said is just go on the website, have a look at your pilot site, and if there's anything you want to update or change, just let us know. Because it is an amazing resource, and I think it's an amazing resource for each of the pilot sites as well. So we'll be very happy to hear from you.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much, everybody. And now our next presentation is a video, if I'm not mistaken. Thanks. So it's a video from Alison from the IOC UNESCO on resilient and... Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. resilient and healthy coastal ocean.
Thank you very much for this invitation to present to the CoastPredict Assembly. Apologies I can't be with you online, but it's a bit of a time zone challenge as I'm currently in Bergen in Norway for One Ocean Week. But I'm really happy to be able to present on the 2027 Ocean Decade Conference that will be hosted by Brazil and take place in Rio in April next year, and particularly focusing on the preparation process for the conference and how the CoastPredict community can get engaged. So I have a few slides to run through. First of all, just a reminder of the objectives of this conference. This conference is very much building on the foundation set by the 2024 Ocean Decade Conference in Barcelona, but it's also coming at a time where we need to be thinking about not only the urgent and immediate actions that will need to be taken between 2027 and 2030, but where we're also going to start discussions and really start laying the foundation for the post-2030 legacy of the decade. And all of this in the context of providing input to dialogue and discussions at the 2028 United Nations Ocean Conference and broader dialogue within the UN system and member states on the role of the ocean in the post-2030 agenda. So a very ambitious and important conference coming up in April next year, and one that is going to need great stakeholder engagement in the preparation process to ensure that we can really meet these different objectives and ambition. So how are we going to do this? And this is the piece that I wanted to really focus on, I think, for the presentation today, is the thinking about the preparatory process for the conference to ensure, again, that we are coming to the conference with a strong, consensual, substantive pre-conference piece of work that has been done that is really going to feed into discussions and dialogue at the conference itself. So the starting point for the conference preparation process, as well as the conference itself and different special events, will be built very much around this concept of the 2030 Ocean Decade Solutions. And Ocean Decade Solutions are, we're trying to look across different Ocean Decade challenges, so really think about how the different Ocean Decade challenges are interacting, and think about where are really those key points, those key needs in global policy, in regional policy and decision making, in national policy and decision making. Where are the key spots where the Ocean Decade could really deliver science and knowledge over the next 3 years, or over the next 3 years from the time of the conference, and then post 2032 to really be able to accelerate impact. For each of these Ocean Decade solutions, which have been identified through an analytical piece of work, which was led by a technical expert and then also discussed in different workshops and online meetings, we are going to develop over the next year a series of Ocean Decade Solutions blueprints. And these blueprints are really going to be the main documentation feeding into the Rio conference itself. And these blueprints are going to take each of the Ocean Decade Solutions in turn. They're going to look at what are the needs and priorities for this particular solution. What can decade partners, so decade programs, decade projects, collaborative centres, national decade committees, commit to doing together over the short term to really contribute to fulfilling the needs and priorities identified in the blueprint. And then looking at what else remains to be done. So sort of saying we already have this incredibly strong momentum and infrastructure in the decade, but we know that there are stakeholders who are not yet at the table. We know that there are additional resources and partnerships that are needed. So identifying those and incorporating those into the blueprints as a call to action. These blueprints, as I said, will be developed over the next 12 months. We're hoping as much as possible to use sidelines meetings and side events and workshops on the margins of other events that will be happening throughout the year. But this will, of course, be complemented by online sessions, particularly as we are thinking about, for example, trying to bring in some of the regional perspectives to these blueprints. So what are the Ocean Decade solutions that we have identified? And again, this is something that was done through our analytical work with technical experts and then workshopped with Decade Advisory Board and other decade partners. But essentially, we have 5 thematic solutions areas, so conservation and sustainable use of biodiversity, resilient and healthy coastal ecosystems and human communities, and that of course is the solution that is probably most relevant for this particular meeting, but I think there are other intersections and overlaps as well. Sustainable and resilient equitable ocean economies, sustainable ocean-based food systems, and then looking at questions around multiple ocean stresses. All of these are underpinned by 3 core solutions areas, so observations, data and services being the first one, and again very relevant to the work of CoastPredict, accessible and sustained investment, and then finally capacity development and ocean literacy for all. And you'll see that there are many interactions between these different solutions, and we'll be aiming to look at these from both a global and a regional perspective. Once these solution blueprints are developed in this participatory process, they will be subject to discussion throughout the week in Rio. So in thematic special events that will take place on the 5th and 6th of April. And a call for these special events will go out in the next month or so. And then in the plenary and parallel sessions of the conference itself. So really looking at providing different avenues for different levels of engagement into the discussion of these blueprints. One other element that I wanted to touch on, which I think is going to be a big input to the development of the blueprints and the conference itself, and will actually be launched at the conference, is the Global Digital Atlas of the Ocean, which was a direct outcome of the Vision 2030 process for Barcelona. And the aim is that this digital atlas really becomes a legacy product of the decade, which captures data sets that are being produced by Decade Actions and maps to the different themes of the conference. So this is something that actually started under the leadership of the Data Sharing Decade Coordination Office. There is a developed roadmap. There is a technical advisory body that is helping to identify the different data sets that would be most useful and the most relevant for the digital atlas. And we're certainly encouraging all of the Decade partners, including programs such as CoastPredict, to really engage in this process to make it a useful tool to develop the blueprints in the lead up to Rio, but as I said, also to be a legacy product of the conference itself. So I've gone a little bit longer than time allocated, but I hope that has been a useful overview of where we're at, and very much looking forward to engaging with this community in coming months to develop strong global and regional blueprints that can really help elevate the issues around coastal resilience and coastal prediction at the Rio conference, and really set the priorities and the actions that we need to undertake collectively over the next short term and then into the post-decade legacy. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks very much, Alison. And Alison is not here, but if anybody has questions, I'm happy to get them, and we can transmit the questions to Alison and get back to you in any case. Okay, so our next presentation is from Willy, who will be presenting us on the Decade Collaborative Center for Coastal Resilience Activities. Thanks, Willy.
Hello, everyone. A little parenthesis first on the Earth Day. I found the theme for this year. Again, Earth Day is today for anyone who missed it. The theme is Our Power, Our Planet. And behind the theme, it is really strengthening collective action and also empowering individuals to get involved to drive environmental change, starting from activities at the local level. And I cannot think of a theme that is most suitable to do that than coastal resilience. Okay. Okay, so, all right, I think this has been clear by now that CoastPredict has very strong ties with coastal resilience through the Global Coast Initiative, through all the emphasis on GCORE, the many of solutions that were presented. And so it has very strong ties, and strong support back and forth with another UN Decade action, the Collaborative Center for Coastal Resilience, DCC-CR for short, which is hosted at the University of Bologna and supported by the Regione Emilia-Romagna. I heard that, but oh, that's not the latest, Mered. That's not, anyway. Okay, Okay, let me go back. I had another slide, so I'll just describe. I gave an updated, there were a couple of other edits. It's okay. I know who they are. I just wanted to say I had their slide with the personnel of the DCC-CR. So Nadia here is the director, and I'm the chief scientific officer. We are both co-chairs of CoastPredict, so you can see the linkages there. Federica, you have all met, is the chief scientific officer. And there were other members of the group. I want to thank everybody because everyone in the DCC-CR group, together with Mered at the CoastPredict Secretariat and our host, of course, have been working very hard and continue to work these days to make this assembly happen. So, okay. So the mission, maybe I'll read from here. Okay. To strengthen the connection between the new science and technology developed in the Ocean Decade and coastal stakeholders, implementing innovative co-design practices for coastal resilience. All very key words there. The co-design concept with stakeholders, the science, the technology, it's all there in the DCC-CR mission. There is this so-called Partner Alliance Network that the DCC-CR has formed with partners, okay, listed here, the Deltares at the Netherlands, CMCC in Italy, and Hereon in Germany. Four major strategic objectives for the DCC-CR. First, to improve science information for all. Second, enhance stakeholder engagement, to promote equitable education and training, and to uphold environmental justice for coastal communities. I'll give you a few details for each of those, but just first to say that there are also cross-cutting activities, an emphasis on the Global South coastal areas, a connection with the cities, with the Ocean Initiative, coastal cities around the world, and of course, with the Global Coast Initiative that you will hear actually a lot more tomorrow at the dedicated Global Coast Assembly. Okay, so for the first objective, to improve science information for all, this has to do with scientific case studies from various decade actions, especially to identify and resolve gaps, then new science and technology actions, new community science for coastal resilience, and also advancements in several sectors of coastal science and engineering. Results I have expected in the slides, but many of those are being done and have been done to design and implement a knowledge hub on coastal resilience. So some examples of how this is being done. Information is disseminated with different tools, such as podcasts and webinars. Dissemination of knowledge. This is done with publications, international networks. I have the word collaborative here, because I forgot to mention that the DCC-CR, of course, has a lot more partners beyond the alliance network that I showed you before, with a lot of affiliated projects, for instance, and also cross-fertilizing with other DCCs, DCOs, other programs under the decade. And finally, promotion of coastal community science through public workshops and training. For the second one, to enhance stakeholder engagement, that's been done through designing, testing, and uptaking of science and technology for coastal resilience. And another way to engage the stakeholders is with collaborative transnational endeavors. Some tangible results from this is to map coastal stakeholders. You have already seen various surveys, identified needs, so much such wealth of information, such wealth of data, not the typical oceanographic data, but very important, socioeconomic, scientific, of course, as well, and broader environmental data to identify needs and opportunities for engagement of the stakeholders, dialogue tools to facilitate equitable interactions, and various workshops, hackathons, and so on to foster collaboration, innovation, and the practical application of these coastal resilience tools. I will say a few more on the third one. I have a couple of more slides about education and training, but in a nutshell, this involves not just the scientists, but also the public, the early career ocean professionals, the ECOPs, and professional practitioners. This last one I want to emphasize because there are people with science background who serve as practitioners, meaning they work in private companies, public agencies, right, local governments, and they have the task to do any range of studies and actions related to coastal resilience, but they do not necessarily have the ocean science background. They are not necessarily aware of the latest data, the latest models to get the job done. So we have to educate them, we have to bring them to be ocean literate, and of course that's very important for the public as well to support what we are doing as scientists. And then a series of schools, especially the DCC-CR Coastal Resilience School, Sustainable Coastal Growth and Resilience, or co-growth for short. Oops. And this is done by continuing the management of this particular school, which operates under the OTCA platform. John Wilkin also mentioned that. It's a wonderful platform under IOC UNESCO, Ocean Teacher Global Academy. Another one is COMPASS, together with CoastPredict, Coastal Modeling for Protection and Conservation of Natural Resources. Other examples are Summer School of Coastal Resilience, and then other promotions, workshops, and so on, prioritizing the participation of ECOPs and the Global South. So a few highlights on the educational activities. The COMPASS course that I mentioned was completed, one of those last year. Another one of the last year was the co-growth. I want to highlight that the co-growth school, that is really the flagship of education under the DCC-CR, has a very interesting hybrid format. For this particular, there were 10 weeks of online learning and then 1 week in presence where the students could exchange their projects and meet and so on. Another example is with students, I believe Lyceus High School or middle high school students, as this one in Rimini. Coastal Resilience to Sea Level Rise was completed late last year together with CMCC educational program. Cloud Native Ocean Data Analysis and Visualization Tool late last year. Then ongoing in preparation is a second edition of the high school course, a second edition of the Sustainable Growth and Resilience co-growth course. This one will have a focus in Asia Pacific later this year, and a course for coastal professionals co-organized with the Emilia-Romagna region, so that focuses on the economical aspects, and that will be done later this year. And finally, for the fourth objective, uphold environmental justice for coastal communities, we need to develop the scientific concepts under an environmental justice prism. We need to examine the relationship between resiliency and equity to provide data-driven insights that inform justice-focused strategies. Some results, case studies, especially at SEEDS, small island developing state locations, carrying out empirical studies on environmental justice for coastal communities, and then various dialogue tools for community-specific projects. I skip that. Okay, so you have seen all that. Cross-cutting activities, I want to emphasize big contribution of the DCC-CR for the Global Coast Networking and Pilot Site Survey, especially in this second edition of the Pilot Site Survey. The DCC-CR has played a very important role supporting it. You have also seen this. I just want to emphasize that this is a cross-cutting activity for the DCC-CR, the two adaptation fund proposals for the Caribbean and the Southeast Asia Seas, and some points of what is happening in the near future, still under development. One that is definitely happening, and we heard Nadia mentioned, Alison told you about these workshops that will prepare the Rio conference. So this, in collaboration with CoastPredict, other partners, the DCC-CR has expressed interest already to be one of the co-leads. Contribution to the UN Ocean Decade Atlas that Alison mentioned. Collaboration with the DCC on ocean economy, on governance for urban resilience in coastal cities. This is one of the cross-cutting activities for the coastal cities and the cities with the ocean network. And then new projects for the Adaptation Fund, for instance, for the Africa region, and that involves preparation for training, coastal community engagement, workshops with the local stakeholders, pilot site stakeholders, and so on. And of course, to define the DCC-CR we want after the UN decade. So just again to emphasize for the Rio conference that you just heard about, I am, and I think all of us are extremely excited that one of the Ocean Decade solutions really has to do with resilient and healthy coastal human communities and ecosystems. This is a big, I think, contribution of DCC-CR and CoastPredict to insert coastal resilience in the Rio conference. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Lily. Very interesting and very, very useful and very clear presentation for the coastal resilience. And we move to our next speaker, which I'm really looking forward, which is Maria Donoso. Maria? Yep. And I'm especially looking forward, as you have seen from our presentation, I'm kind of a skeptical person on many things. And one of the things that I like about this presentation is that we're going to be introduced about some serious work on co-design. To me, co-design is one of those a la mode words, and I'm worried also always when I see co-design, me pongo a temblar. So, but now I think we have a very good examples, and I'm extremely happy. So thanks very much, Maria.
Pleasure, and thank you again for inviting me to be here with you in this very important meeting. So first of all, referring to co-design, most of the people talk about co-design and they stop there. And that's not the way to do things. When you start co-designing, you have to take into consideration and be aware that there's going to be a co-delivery. That's the process of the project or initiative to take place, and a co-delivery. So what happens after the project or the initiative has finished, it has to be thought about even at the very early stage. And the more you think about it and the more you consider the various points that I'm going to refer to, the better your co-design and your project is going to be. So let's start by what is co-design. So first of all, it's a participatory development of a project or of a program, okay? And with the stakeholders. Now here where we start making errors. We talk about the stakeholders that exist today, but if you are planning, you have to consider potential users and potential stakeholders. Now that's not easy, and that requires a lot of information and a lot of knowledge. So that's why working with the local authorities, with the local participants of the country, of the region, is key. So what is the objective of co-design? Well, it has to, you have to pose questions that are hard to answer. One of them is respond to specific sustainability development needs. So a lot of people refers to this is like a process where we all come together, we all talk, and that's great. But no, we have to come together with a purpose, and the purpose is sustainability. Because what we want is, once this project ends, whatever happens, we are going to be moving forward, that country or that region, towards a sustainable future. The other, it has to correspond to the stakeholders' collective targeted interest. Now, There are different stakeholders in different countries, for example, in the project that we were just referring to. And each country has its own interests, its own, I would say, even dreams or its own needs. So you have to go and do an analysis and take what is among these differences, the ones that are common, and target those first, because that will guarantee that more people will be benefiting from whatever this project or initiative is. So as I said, we don't just stop here in the process of designing the project. We have to think about co-production. Now, co-production is the participatory also development and implementation of a project and or a program. And again, we talk about with stakeholders, but it's for stakeholders. So it's not just bringing them in, but also taking consideration throughout this that once the project starts, the project has to have results and targets that are for the stakeholders. And those stakeholders, and we will see later, are not necessarily the ones that participated in the co-design. So again, why are we doing this? What is the objective? Well, the objective is to generate relevant, useful, and usable things that you can really use, not something that we would like to see, we would like to have, but something that could really make a difference. And then we have to say, what is that? What is it? Well, it's information, but it's also knowledge. It's not just gather things, but advance science, advance the knowledge of the complete set of stakeholders, which might be people from different countries, different areas, etc. So this is why, because we want to create and deliver what we were talking about, sustainable solution, which again responds to the needs of the parties and advances always sustainable development. But then we also need to think about co-production. So this is, again, a participatory project, and then we have to move towards co-delivery. That is a participatory development also, but now of strategies, longer term, which have to be for various reasons. One is, appropriate use of result of the project. So whatever the project is going to produce, whether these are policies or institutions or new developments, innovative technology, etc., the strategies need to be designed to make appropriate use of whatever the results that you anticipate for this project. It also needs to establish knowledge sharing and data platforms. Now, this is because especially if you take a project within a region, such as the one that we were referring to, there are different degrees of knowledge, different degrees of resources, and we want to homogenize, to bring the ones that are up, that are like more scientifically driven or have better resources, to share their knowledge with those that need to move forward at a bigger pace. And at the end of the day, we wouldn't have an homogeneous, I would say, setting, but we will try to bring them as close as we can to that I will say, setting that we expect at the end of the project. But also, we have to make into consideration that we need to reach a number of stakeholders. And for that, the national governments, whether we like them or not, they have to be part of this, okay? They have to be part of the process. Communities, industry, private sector, we cannot move forward and attain sustainability without the private sector. Again, whether you are pro or against that. Research and development entities need to also be brought up to speed and participate. And then, again, very important, something that sometimes we miss is it's not just talking about the current users or the current stakeholders, but what are the potential users? What are the potential beneficiaries at the time of the project end, because they're the ones who are taking over or are going to move forward with whatever the project produced. So you see, we are going very much beyond just planning today. We plan for tomorrow and beyond. And very important, the objective is to contribute to advance of sustainable development. In this case, very much within the context of the 2030 agenda. So all of that exercise that you did is very important to have it handy once you start the development of the project itself. So with this baggage of, now I will say collective knowledge that we have, let's move on to a few things. The importance to relate any international agenda with the development of the project itself, which is what's being done here, okay? Yeah, so that implies a number of things, that the design process has to be, again, collaborative and participatory, and we must involve, and I don't know what this is doing that, professionals for multiple disciplines, and we cannot just have like leaders or oceanographers or biologists. We have to look into accounting, into chemistry, economics, mathematicians, etc. Very, very important, the press. We don't, usually scientists, we don't like the press, but the press, the media, we have to bring it on board because they can be our worst enemies or our major defenders. And so bringing them in from the very beginning is important. Let them grow with us, let them acquire knowledge, and let them be our voice, okay? And then in terms of the types of stakeholders, again, not just the scientific community, not just the community's leaders themselves, but a lot of local authority, bring the contractors, the suppliers. We're talking about supply chain these days, and it's important. The media, the investors, employees, customers, etc. So bring as much types of stakeholders, and again, not just the ones that exist today, but anticipate the best you can with the knowledge that you gather and their interaction with the locals in terms of what are the next one. So some consideration related now to stakeholders and actors. First of all, each group of stakeholders must play a particular role. And not necessarily one role. It might be stakeholders that play different roles. And so those are important. Second, during the process, this process which includes not just the co-design, but the co-production and the co-delivery, taking into consideration that the role of each stakeholder group can vary through time. So the ones that were had a certain role today may have a different role tomorrow. And it's important that we understand the best we can those roles. But the most important is that those particular stakeholders or beneficiaries understand their own role. Because what happens is sometimes certain groups decide that, oh, this is my role, and that's not your role, it's mine. Or this is for you to do. So it's very important to have a comprehensive of the global situation of the project. Very quickly also, you have to take into consideration that the roles are understood by everybody, and most important, the ones that are playing or supposed to be playing that role. Also, it's important to take into consideration that from the very beginning, even before you start actually designing the project, there has to be promoting realistic expectation among one or more group of stakeholders. Sometimes because we love so much what we do, we overdo it. And we start promising things that are really not going to happen. Or we start promising things that are not going to happen what we originally said that were going to happen. And most of the time it's not the fault of the, I will say, leaders of the development of a project or a program. There are different circumstances. Look what happened in Jamaica at the end of last year. Hurricane went by and half of Jamaica was totally not participating even in our conversations. And there are political issues, there are natural issues that happen. But it is important to keep the group, the leadership group, the various stakeholders, the various beneficiaries, in an environment that is transparent and that is also the state of what the situations are. Because the more the people believe, the more they're going to contribute. And you, the leaders, but also the ones that are going to accompany the process, need to have the most harmonious relation so that it benefits the majority of the people. So in most cases, through my life, I've been working 40 years here, the lack of trust is what makes a project fail more than the technical, scientific, or even funding capacities. So with this in mind, then, we keep looking, and we must say that the design process should lead to convergence and not to divergence. The various stakeholders have different objectives, and we have to bring those objectives together. You're going to say, Maria, it's easy said than done, especially when you deal with politicians, but we have to at least give it our best try and bring them on board instead of trying to use the differences, because remember, I mean, please, I'm from the US. So when we have the Democrats, we have this. And when you have the Republicans, we've got that. But they go one year, the other year is another one. So we have to keep these people with a focus on something that is beneficiary to everybody. And that's our job. And finally, we need to take into consideration that, I don't know why it's doing this all the time, but doesn't want to go forward now. And
we need to finish, Maria.
It's just telling me that you better stop there. Okay, so very important. We are in a world today where rights are very important. We won't forget responsibilities. And unless we know we are responsible, we're not going, we cannot claim the rights. So please take into consideration. Then just to give an example, and I'm sure that this is the same with the projects that you're doing in the Asian Pacific region, it's very important to take into consideration social issues, which are different, culture, scientific knowledge, economy, environment, geopolitical aspect, and last but not least, governance. The governance is linked to all of the previous identified important consideration. So when you start putting together your project, which you're going to present to different agencies, that's the scalon of agencies, that down from the very beginning, you have a very good group of people, and you do have a good group of people in this region and coming from abroad, and that you keep that going. Be frank, be transparent, be focused, be objective, and be respectful. If I can help in any way, I'll love to do it. Thank you very much.
Thanks very, very much, Maria. Very useful and inspiring presentation. And we are now switching to our next and final speaker. Yes, on the Salvatore Causio will be telling us about the ECOP initiative in CoastPredict. Thanks.
Okay, let's try again with these things here. Okay, so my talk now is just to conclude what we have a look at, just giving you an idea about what ECOP could do in this framework and how we could support the GCORE that we already seen up to now. Basically, the story, now you should almost know, starts last year in February 2025 in Lecce, when we had a workshop where all the ECOPs start to draft, let's say, on a whiteboard, all things that we were missing, we would like to contribute, what we should do for the idea of the global cost and CoastPredict. Basically, we end up with a couple of main topics, which are basically the ocean literacy and citizen science. And starting from that, we start to write a proposal, which now has been endorsed by CoastPredict, about ECOPs, UN decade, about the role of ECOP in these two different topics. The CREW project, which is Coastal Resilience ECOP worldwide, is is a project led by University of South Malaysia, and we have some coordination, four other institutions which are supporting it in the coordination of the project. Basically, we have Deltares from Netherlands, CMCC and CNR from Italy. Then we have Calabar, Nigeria, and India with Kolkata. Now the team. We are a bit more than 50 people and coming from more than 25 countries. But this was for last year in February. So now we have more than 50 pilots more. So I hope that this number will 80 more. Wow. So now we should extend a bit this. I hope this will be a larger number of teams. So what was the main idea? The main idea was to develop a network of ECOP, which are, of course, everyone in different regions of the global coast. And this should be intended as the strength of the project. Because basically what we stressed during such workshop was that the ECOP very often, of course, so they live in very close, or at least there in the pilot site for the global coast. So they are very close to the people that can be engaged, and they are in line with their, of course, their language and the local knowledge. This was another very important point that we stressed during such a workshop, where in all the participatory meeting and the interaction with all the stakeholders, we should try to engage, to include the indigenous and local knowledge in all the activities. So we can intend the ECOP here something like a network of people working in the place, trying to gather global problem, which is the coastal resilience, to the global, so to the local scale, but in the opposite way, from a bottom-up approach, let's say, starting from gathering all the information that we have along the coast, trying to find a sort of common issue and common solution, just to avoid to have duplicating all solution, which sometimes can be also done, let's say, in a not specific way, something like best practices that we could try to develop within the project. And basically, we base the work the support that we can give to the framework into the three main objectives. We start with gathering information from every pilot site because of this, how can I say, let's say vicinity of the ECOP to the people living there. And this is just very important for defining a sort of baseline, of framework, of understanding of the coastal issue that some people can have. Then we start to develop, and we can contribute with the local workshop and school, and we'll give you some information very soon. And we try to support with the citizen science initiative, of course, data collection. I just reported here 3 examples as but you should already know. I mean, we already seen this morning CMCC Interbox. We know about COSNAP or the blue dot that we seen yesterday for diver data logging, temperature monitoring, and so on. And then, of course, after these data have been collected, they're important to be fair and care, as we already seen this morning. And this could be, I mean, another important point for the ECOP to work on. Again, into the objective 3, we added a couple of points, which are games and communication tool, which could be again spread through this ECOP network and could be support our idea. This is, I mean, what Willy was mentioning before. This is a school that we had last year. And the main message here, this is a very interesting and peculiar school because we had 10 weeks online lecture and 1 week in person. Very effective, I want to say, because I mean, we have people coming from all over the world. Basically, all the ocean was there. And if I'm not wrong, we had more than 500 application, right? Then only 20 people passed it, and then they were there. And in fact, this year has been 25. And in fact, this year we are replicating the school. And another important message is that the school is done for ECOP, but sometimes some ECOP can also be part of the teaching group. As myself, I'm proud of myself here in the lecture. And I mean, we try, this sort of school has been done through the OTGA platform. And so it's a very, I want to say that it's very effective way on giving a lecture in a condition in which we are working with people from all the timeline of the world. So basically we attended, this was a very strong point to overcome during this school. And I mean, you can read here a bit about the topics that we faced with, starting from general aspect of cost resilience to innovative solution, business economics, hazard mapping, risk assessment, and so on. Another point concern about the games. This was not exactly developed within the group, but it has been used also in the school that I was showing you before. This is so kind of game which was developed by CMCC in REST Coast project. I just added here the link, where in this game you are the major of one of these 3 cities. So you have 3 different opportunities: a commercial port city, small tourist city and fishing town, or coastal wetland and farming area. So you have, it's quite long. I mean, you take probably 2 hours, 3 hours to complete, but you have a lot of challenges. And according to your decision, if you want to go towards exactly too much towards the money, you will face some issue. If you want to go too much towards the ecosystems, you will face with other issues. So it's a sort of trade-off that you have to face with during this funny game. And this is at the end what we could propose for the framework. Basically, we work on different time actions, let's say short term, because we are really increasing a bit the knowledge. We are, of course, providing new observation and support to local experts, but this will converge into long-term action because of the legacy that we try to give with, let's say, ocean-aware new generation. Together with the global cost system, we try to develop, and because of our dislocation, let's say all over the world, best practice and solution, and so on this framework, what I think is that we can think about the ECOP, something like a facilitator of transferring this information to all the pilot sites. Basically, yesterday Nadia was saying, so who cares about the global Southern Ocean? Basically, if we have the ECOP, we can try to use them to do this. Basically, where we are. Just to conclude, I want to say that this project started 3 weeks ago. We met with the first steering committee on April. basically. And we submitted in the same month, last week, the first proposal. There was an Horizon Europe proposal for citizen science and ocean literacy. We have 5 different pilots. One is the Mediterranean, one is in northern Norwegian, the other one is in India and Nigeria, I don't know exactly. And what we are working on is to develop a new questionnaire, something similar to the question that has been posed to all of you for the pilot sites, just to understand what are the expertise of all the ECOP involved and what they would like to do. Basically, what is the effort that you want to put in such project. And of course, if there are any people who want to join, so please contact us, because the most we are, the better it is. And I'm here just to propose. So what about, because last year was very, very effective, so probably it could be nice to have the next year also another workshop with all the ECOPs, just to understand what happened after 2 years and what we can do for the next 2 other years. So thank you all.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. So in the Atlas, they captured the fact that CoastPredict DCC-CR is doing a lot of training, but also that there are few other projects that is doing changing the training. So through ECOPs. So they asked us to insert documentation on the Atlas. So we need to think how to structure that part in the Atlas. And I'm thinking now, even with Maria, maybe we should, make a connection. It will be one of the major outcomes of the decade, that there are new type of schools, new ECOP community formed, you are our life, our future. And we wanted to start I normally do that scientifically. I think is the proper way. We normally do the literature survey and we find out what has been written. And about essential coastal variables, the only thing that I found was the famous report of 2003 and 2005 of the Coastal Observing Ocean Panel. I don't know why it doesn't come out today, but it's COOP, it was called the COOP. That group dismantled in 2005 because it left goose, it left a recommendation to goose to form the coastal panel of goose. It hasn't been done. So it was dismantled. It was a JCOM group joint between WMO and IOC, and was wonderful work done at the beginning of JCOM, because JCOM started in 1999, not 2019. JCOM was closed in 2019. And, that recommendation is left in my heart because I contributed to COOP when I was still a young scientist trying to find my way. So, and I think with our next step into the GOOS panel, Global Coastal Ocean Panel, not resilience, but global coastal ocean panel, we're gonna do what was recommended by JCOM and by this Coastal Ocean Observing Panel, COOP. We will make available on the, these reports are available. Okay, so the point is that in a framework for the global coastal ocean, you need to phrase and you need to understand, in addition to the technology that will measure them, what are the variables that are most interesting. And so this is a part that we haven't done because we were concentrating on the manual solutions. But now becoming more of framework, we need to do that. So we start this process now. And we have SLIDO for you, starting from the final outcome of the COOP. So we take the COOP outcome and we revisit it. So the name of this Slido, I forgot. I mean, is reframing the essential coastal variable of COOP for the 2026 Global Coastal Ocean Framework. I think it will be useful. So we worked out this Slido. There will be like 5 questions. The first one, 5 or 6. We have half an hour, so don't do it too fast. Take your time. We will show it to you clearly. It will be in the paper. And if there are comments, they will be edited as part of the editing of the paper. Now, okay, so Slido. If you don't mind to go to the slido.com with the QR code, I guess we can start. No. First, before starting, is there any question? Yeah, you do. Yeah, please.
Yeah, I suppose either today or at the end of the meeting, we're going to get a link to the drive for the paper where we can comment.
2 weeks. Yeah, please give us 2 weeks. First, Mered requires some break. Federica requires some break. What? No, I said Mered. Oh, I said no. Mered, Federica, sort of number of people require some break. Then we meet as a board. We look at what we have now, and then we will put it on the Google Drive. I don't know if it is a Google Drive or another one, but it's the right one. Okay. So this will be the procedure. As I said, Jason, very successful paper with Anna. You haven't met her, but she is another good help for Jason and very, but good. And so they told us, they show us that, by doing workshops like we have done in all these years and discussing with people and then getting, a consultation, a continuous consultation, you get a nice paper. Please, Jason.
One reflection on that, Nadia, is the flame paper took the flame paper took about 18 months, maybe even 2 years from workshop to submission. we probably want to get this faster. Yeah, and so thinking about how to accelerate that process. Maybe not writing so much is possibly one solution. It's too big.
Very good suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you. I have some comments related to the essential ocean variables. And these comments are basically how we identify them and what we want to make the best added value for the CoastPredict system. Because it is not just a question what are the variables that we will include and how we will include them, but also how we define them with the global cost use cases. Because this is what we are doing and how they are applicable with the decision making. And in that context, we really need to link these variables with the use cases, and they have to be not just essential cost variables, but essential use cases linked cost variables. But something else that I wanted to mention, and this is also in the context of what we discussed yesterday, why for the coastal variable should be important but different, is that we have to link them with the different cross scales. Because cross scales, they have to be linked with global, regional, and land from one side, but also as coastal community, we need also high temporal resolution. Because this is very important. And the last, before giving the floor to someone else, is we need to link also these essential coastal use case variables with uncertainties. In order to establish trust of our data and variables, we need also to communicate them with uncertainties. So that are my points.
I agree with you, Giovanna. So one thing is that I get from this discussion is that we're doing a first cut to the problem, right? So that has to be well expressed in the paper. So this is number one of a series of papers that will frame the framework, that will design the framework. But we need to start last year, and not only last year, but from before, from when we started, we said CoastPredict had the principles of implementation, and had that was written in our basic documents at the beginning, and so now we went into details of solutions, of menu of solutions for different parts. And you already gave contributions to that menu of solutions last year. So let's try then to find an adequate title of the framework that makes us, that allows us in the year after, in 2027, let's say, after we have this one, to go to part 2. So we can call it part 1. It is certain things, and part 2 is the rest. We can even decide at the end of today, maybe, or maybe, when we consult with the steering committees, that we want to leave out from this first version the essential coastal variables, and we put it in the second part. So we leave in this part what we have written up to now, which is the menu solution plus the key elements that you have seen, these 4 key elements. And then we stop here, and then we go to the next one, which will be the crossing with the users, the implementation across scales, and so on. That will take a bit longer to be done, okay? So we have a lot of material already from the survey and so, but this is a special material. My experience when we wrote the COOP plan, we had lots of meetings only with prepared to have this consultation with the different matrices and different ways to look at the problem, users versus variable. It's, it's a kind of at least at the time, it took 6 years to write the final document on the essential coastal variables. So let's us try to see if we can recover part of that work, which is documented. It's a great paper, I agree, is a report by UNESCO, but is a paper. We say we start from that and we add what we can now, then we will see where to go next. Okay, because if we know, we are scientists, so we write papers and we know that, we need always to consider all the possible things. And I agree, the link between users or services or and variables is very important. But, in the COOP report, there are already very interesting results about that matrix, okay? Users against variables. Okay, so we might have to have some special workshop for that done. But maybe, tell me, maybe is a possible solution to have our manual solution as within the framework now, and then have a second part where we will go into the details on how to match the essential variables with the users. Also because in this paper, if you remember what you corrected last year, you don't, because it's too much. There is no users real talking. There is a manual solution. Yeah. So this is something that we have not done in the manual solution last year. Okay, so let's see. So first point, this is part 1 of the framework. We're going to get the GOOS panel working on the part 2, maybe the GOOS panel, hopefully the Global Coastal Ocean panel. And the CoastPredict will help with CoastCT, for example, to write the part 2 where you revise the COOP plan with users and variables. This is the possibility. You need to say? Oh, okay. I'm a big traveler when I think. So, okay, let me repeat it better, probably. So now we do a first paper with a framework with 4 key principles. Because we need to put this source to sea issue on the first topic, because and we also need to put the question of the relocatability, because it is the scalable structure. That's also part of FLAME, and so because it will be part of FLAME, and maybe there is in a FLAME, for example, is interesting the framework of the intercomparison project, which is the scalable philosophy. So you put everybody in charge of doing certain operations, certain modeling choices, and so if you have a protocol for intercomparison. To conclude, because we need to arrive at a certain point, I think that there will be the part 1 of the framework. Then we construct the part 2 by taking the appropriate pieces from the COOP panel and from our experience in CoastPredict, and we write the part 2. And we presented next year in 2027, we will have the meeting. What? Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, sorry. No, I'm wondering, I agree about this part 1, part 2. I'm wondering to enrich part 2, if it would be helpful to have some test case studies with the stakeholders, and we will be in a better position after the adaptation fund will be kind of more mature, but from other pilot sites it's possible as well.
Good idea, really. Yeah, I think really that is what is missing. For example, in the COOP reports, they don't have case studies because they didn't know, that was so preliminary. But yeah, I think the results are still, to my understanding, still advanced. So if we start from them and we add our subsequent knowledge with the study cases, we will be fine. I see you puzzled, Jason. Is it with respect to what? Yeah. Is that okay, Joanna? Yeah. Yeah. I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
You see, I can speak loudly and then try to update it, because we need to be up to date.
I think the part of the solutions is okay.
Okay.
But not maybe.
We can check.
But you can check.
We can check. It's not difficult to add a paragraph and so if needed.
But sure, absolutely. This is the process we will do. Not 18 months. And so I take your third recommendation, that is my third getting short. And we have all the important points. Okay, so good. I get this. Yeah, sorry. Oh, is this the next? Okay, the first question has been done by everybody? Oh, really? While I was talking, people were doing? Oh, Oh, I see. Nobody cared about. Okay, fine. No. So now we have Q1.2. Are any important user categories missing? It's an open text. So you can write here. Can you see the category? Can we have the presentation maybe? You don't have my presentation. Oh, you see them, universities. These are not all of them, right? These are the, okay, these are not all of them because you had to choose within the subcategories, so that's okay. Okay. So we clearly see that we are a community of researchers. Yeah. This is okay? So now what do? We go to the next? Thank you. And the next is this. Now you should see in your telephone the next question. 1.2. So now you have qualified yourself. Who is missing in this audience? We are asking you. That is of importance for this specific SLIDO. I like that, the indigenous communities. That means that speaks for what Joanna said, that we need to have, Willy said the study cases where we have the indigenous communities or the local communities. Yeah. When are you, artists, that's my, yes. You see, it's interesting. You get always interesting. It's going to be okay. So are we ready to go to the next one? I'm not a very good Slido manager, so thank you for keeping me. Okay, so let's go to the Q2. About 4. Yeah, no, 40. Which coastal phenomena are most relevant to your work, people in this room, or decisions? Maybe there are people also on the sky, right? So, are they doing also? Maybe. Eh? No. They have the code, they can. Okay, that's good. Now I'm going to take the time. Taking the time. Okay. I'm a bit later now. Okay, I will take it next. So now, soon we are going to go to the next. What about leaving 4 minutes for each question? Can we do? Maybe 4 minutes. Oh yeah, we do. 16:45. Yeah, maybe less. Okay, we go to the. Excuse me. Comment. No, I should have prevented the problem. I didn't say to Wanda. I forgot to say. So you can take multiple choices? What? No. Oh, only one choice. Yeah, it's good. No, Marco is good. One choice is good. Oh, I thought I did it wrong. No, I did it okay. So, okay, which coastal phenomena are most relevant? Most relevant. So one. You have to make a decision. It's good. To your work or decisions. Okay, I love it. Is the ecosystem health better than waves and currents? I'm very happy. Okay, next one. Let's go to the next one. Are there additional phenomena that should be included? Because I gave you that. So always, now I'm going to take 2 minutes, right? So otherwise I get too much. Too much, 2 minutes. Start. So now you can do the multiple choice. You see, I allow. Yeah, no, but you can put in the text. You can repeat the previous one. No, these are addition. Oh, nice. I like this link between different from. I like this. Multi-variable, multi-causal. Nice. Oh, I need to talk to the very interesting work, marine heat waves. I forgot to. I need to get in touch with you. Are you going to stay tomorrow? Let me ask her. Laura, are you going to stay tomorrow? Yes. I'd like to discuss with you, maybe together. Yeah, very nice work. Yeah. So, okay, it's almost finished the time. See. Okay. Now I close. Let's go to the next one, please. Yeah. Now is the variables. Because this is the process that the ECOP did. So we copied also the process. Oh, there is multiple, sure. Multiple. This is, no, because I mean, ecosystem health, you have to put multiple thing here, right? But do we see everything? Oh, good. I just wanted to see the part. Contaminants. Benthic. What is the benthic? Yeah, we get some benthic, fortunately. Biomass, good. Get some pathogen, please, because they're important. No, I know. What it was said, yeah, I know. Okay, it's almost over. Thank you. And now we go to the next. Next, are any important variables missing? Oh, this one, please. Good. Sea ice was not there? Strange. Exactly. See, this is the difference. That's the 2000 and today. That's the difference. Oh, bottom stress. See. Let's see. Oh, woman roll. Good. So what is that when you get the samba? Oh, they can vote. And so then see. There are a lot missing. but we will see. Okay, we are almost done with this. Sorry, Miranda, but how many are they for? Because I one more, the four. Very nice. Okay, done. We go to the next one. Please. Okay. What is the main gap between available data and your needs? Multiple choice. Sorry? No, choose one. Yeah, you're right. Multiple choice doesn't matter. Yeah, you're right. I'm confused. Oh, nice. The data accessible. This is what I wanted to hear. This is, you see, this is perfect. I mean, it's better than this, you can. Can we see the bottom, please? So these are the same sort of topics that were used by COOP. So we will see the results in hours. And at least we have a comparison, how much we evolved, and if we have not evolved, which is for some categories we have not. That's already an interesting thing to know. We should move. Yes? And so have we, yeah, we have another one. Do we? Oh, no. Okay, so well, I have once I still have 20 seconds. 10 minutes behind. It's a lot of fun. Thank you so much. I hope it will be useful. Certainly from looking at this is useful, but we will see if to put it in part 1, part 2, and we'll offer Giovanni and Aletta's view in the paper.